1 minute ago, Iran launched what appears to be its most powerful missile yet at Dimona. Not one of the missiles we've already seen in this conflict. Not the earlier systems used in strikes on Tel Aviv. This was something bigger, heavier, and far more specialized. Reports suggest it was the Khorramshahr 4, a missile designed specifically for maximum destruction against hardened targets. And this time, the target wasn't just symbolic. It wasn't just about pressure or signaling. It was about impact. The missile hit Dimona. What happened next was different from anything we've seen so far in this conflict. The explosion wasn't small. It wasn't contained. It wasn't the kind of blast you would expect from a standard surface strike. People in nearby cities saw it. The shockwave, the smoke, the scale of the detonation, it all pointed to something much deeper, much more serious. And since that moment, there has been silence. No official statement. No detailed explanation. No confirmation about what was hit, what was damaged, or what the consequences might be. That silence is important. Because this is not the first time Dimona has been targeted. This is the third strike. And each strike appears to have been part of a larger pattern. The first strike damaged surface-level infrastructure. It weakened outer defenses. It showed that the facility could be reached. The second strike added more damage. It hit a system already under stress. It reduced the margin of safety even further. But this third strike is different. This one appears to have been designed to go deeper. The Khorramshahr 4 is not just a larger missile. It is built to penetrate. That means it doesn't simply explode on impact. It drives into the ground or into reinforced structures before detonating. And when that happens, the effects change completely. Instead of a blast spreading outward across the surface, the energy is released underground. That creates a vertical column of force. It pushes debris, dust, and material upward into the air. It also sends shock waves through the surrounding ground. If the missile reaches something sensitive, something pressurized or unstable, the explosion can become much larger than the weapon alone would produce. That appears to be what people saw. The smoke column rising over the area was not typical of a surface strike. It was taller, denser, and more sustained. Satellite systems reportedly tracked it in real time. That suggests something went in before it went off. Now, to understand why this matters, we need to look at the sequence. This was not one strike. It was 3. And when you look at them together, they don't appear random. They appear structured. The first strike weakened the outer layer. The second strike damaged what remained. The third strike targeted what was underneath. That is not coincidence. That is a step-by-step approach. It suggests planning. It suggests knowledge of the facility's structure. And it suggests that each strike was meant to prepare the way for the next. That brings us to the most important question. What was actually hit underground? Dimona is widely believed to contain some of the most sensitive infrastructure in the region. Analysts have long suggested that it includes processing facilities, storage areas, and possibly other components tied to nuclear capability. But here's the problem. We don't know what was affected. And the government isn't saying. That silence could mean several things. It could mean the damage is limited, and they are choosing not to share details. It could mean the situation is serious, and they are trying to control public reaction. Or, and this is the most concerning possibility, it could mean that they are still trying to understand what happened themselves. Because events like this don't always reveal their full impact immediately. An underground explosion doesn't just end when the blast is over. The ground continues to shift. Structures respond over time. Systems fail in stages. If there is any release of hazardous material, that also develops over hours or days, not seconds. So it's possible that, right now, the full picture is still forming. And that uncertainty matters most for the people living nearby. Cities like Beer Sheva, Eilat, and Dimona itself are all within range of whatever effects this strike may have created. Hundreds of thousands of people live in that area. As of now, there have been no new public safety instructions specific to this situation. No evacuation orders. No updated guidance. No mention of any additional precautions. People are being told the same thing they've been told throughout the conflict. Go to shelters when sirens sound. But this is not the same kind of event. That guidance was designed for incoming missiles, not for potential environmental risks following a deep underground strike on sensitive infrastructure. And that gap, between what may have changed and what people are being told, is becoming harder to ignore. At the same time, the international response is growing. Organizations and governments are starting to ask questions. There are calls for transparency, calls for access, calls for clarification about the current status of the facility. Some neighboring countries are already taking precautionary measures. That tells you something important. It tells you that, from the outside, this is being treated as a situation with potential wider consequences. And that creates a contrast. Because while external actors are reacting with caution, the internal messaging remains limited. That difference is noticeable. And it raises further questions. Why the silence? Is it strategic? Is it temporary? Or is it a sign that the situation is still unfolding behind the scenes? Whatever the reason, the result is the same. People are left without clear information about something that could directly affect them. And that brings us back to the bigger picture. This strike is not just about a single event. It's about what it represents in the context of everything that has happened so far. 3 strikes. Increasing in intensity. Increasing in precision. Increasing in depth. That pattern suggests escalation. It suggests that the target was not just to damage, but to progressively reduce protection and then reach what lies beneath. And if that interpretation is correct, then this third strike may mark a turning point. Not because of what we already know, but because of what we don't. Because the real impact of this event may not be fully visible yet. It may be developing. It may be hidden. And it may take time before it becomes clear. In the meantime, the key issue is information. What do the authorities know? What are they choosing to share? And what do people on the ground need to understand in order to make decisions about their own safety? These are not abstract questions. They are immediate. They are practical. And they matter right now. Because when something this significant happens, the response is not just measured in military terms. It's measured in communication, in transparency, in trust. And when there is a gap between what people see and what they are told, that gap becomes its own problem. So as this situation continues to develop, the focus will remain on a few critical points. What was hit? What was affected? What are the risks? And what comes next? Right now, those answers are not fully available. But the questions are not going away. And the longer the silence continues, the more pressure will build to fill it. Because at the end of the day, this is not just about infrastructure. It's not just about strategy. It's about people. People who are living in the area. People who are watching this unfold. People who are trying to understand what it means for them. And those people deserve clarity. They deserve accurate information. And they deserve it in time to make informed decisions. We'll continue to follow this as it develops. Stay with us for updates, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think this third strike changes? And how should governments respond when the situation is still unclear but the risks may already be present? I'll see you in the next update.